Good evening. Welcome to the July 19th regularly scheduled Valley View School Board meeting. Would ask that you silence your phones, rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Member Burduris. Board affirmation statement. Ms. Perro, if you would please.
Our mission is to empower all learners to be college, career, and life ready, and to develop, grow, and achieve as productive citizens.
Thank you. Ms. Kinder, agenda.
Yes, sir. I would like to ask the board to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Student and staff recognition, ISHA Boys Track and Field State Qualifiers. Romeoville Principal Kinder is dashing down the runway, followed by Bolingbrook Principal and coaches.
Yeah, even though I'm introducing the track, that's about as fast as I got going in these ages. So, good evening, President Quigley, members of the board, Superintendent Kinder, members of senior leadership, members of the audience, members of the community. My name is Derek Kinder, very proud principal of Romeoville High School, and it's my privilege to introduce our head boys track coach, Mr. Scott Harper, who's going to tell you about Joel's performance at the state tournament and his performance this year. Mr. Harper.
Thank you, Mr. Kinder. School board, president, Mr. Kinder, everybody here. Nice to see everybody. I'm here to introduce a junior, Joel Anyon. He's been high jumping, he just said, since 8th grade. This year, Joel qualified for the state track meet. His best jump of the season was 1.93, which is 6 feet 4 inches, which tied the school record. So hopefully next year as a senior, he'll be able to break it. When we went downstate, Joel cleared opening height, but then had a mishap and gave it his best shot on the second height. And like I said, he's a junior, so he'll be back next year, and hopefully we'll be here again to introduce him with a state medal. Once again, Joel Anyon.
Mr. Pascavage.
Good evening, Dr. Jason Pascavage, principal of Bolingbrook High School, and today I have the honor to present our coach, Coach Lester.
Thank you, Dr. Pascavage, board members, everyone here, thank you. I'm here to introduce two of my athletes that aren't here with us today. Tyler Herring, who's a junior, qualified in the high jump, and Jaquan Howard, who qualified in the 100-meter. Again, we dealt with a very short season this year, and these two athletes coming off of a football season in the spring did incredibly well for us. Tyler tied for second at the sectional, and that was about his 4th time high jumping ever, and he qualified for state. It just shows you the type of athlete he is, and he just is able to try anything. Jaquan Howard, again, is one of our star football players, is really, really fast and has put in so much work on the track as well, and he was so great for him to qualify. The one athlete I do have here with us is Brett Wasick. Showed incredible adversity throughout the whole time I've coached him. Got 3rd at the sectional meet, qualified under time. Did okay at the state meet, but he is a junior and he'll be back next year. Looking forward to a good cross-country season, and hopefully back here for cross-country and for track for Brett. So thank you. Brett Wasick.
Moving on the agenda, Treasurer's Report, Mr. Gazafi.
Treasurer's Action Report 6.1 is the usual financial reports, balance sheets, summary of revenue and expenditures, as well as the interim obligation payments for the month of June 2021, totaling $6,993,863.78 for your consideration and action.
Since he's already made his presentation, I forgot the nutritional service. We'll go back. Let's go ahead. Have a motion on this. Motion seconded. All those in favor say, oh, is there any discussion? All those, no, not, we got to do a roll call vote. Roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Baduris?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
And President Quigley.
Yes. Now, let's go back to the Nutritional Services Department spotlight, which is up there.
Yeah, thank you, President Quigley. One of our favorite things to do is spotlight our students, staff, community partners, and tonight we wanted to share a brief spotlight of our nutrition services team who continue to do an amazing job of serving our students and our community and have shown great dedication. So we'll go ahead and share a quick spotlight of our awesome nutrition services team.
As part of Valley View School District's continuing commitment to serve the community, this summer, VVSD Nutrition Services is again offering the Summer Meals for Kids program for all children ages 18 years old and younger.
It's a great opportunity for us to offer this program. It does what we love to do in Valley View School District. We love to partner with our community and get that community outreach, which is so interconnected to our kids and our community. So we are able to extend healthy meals to our community members throughout the summer, again, through the Summer Food Service Program. We do open our doors, if you will, from 10 to 11 a.m. to any community member under the age of 18. The child can come pick up the meal, or an adult can pick up the meals on behalf of the child. This summer, our regulations are allowing us to offer that. It's through July 30th. July 5th, we are off for the holiday, but Monday through Friday from 10 to 11 a.m. at Door 1 at the following locations. In Romeoville, Irene King Elementary, Beverly Scoff Elementary, and A.V. Martinez Middle School. And in Bolingbrook, Independence Elementary, J.R. Tibbet Elementary, Brooks Middle School, and Humphrey Middle School.
When you come up, we're going to ask you how many meals you need. It's one per child under the age of 18. We're going to give them a hot lunch, like today was, or yesterday was a hot dog. They're also going to receive a fruit and vegetable to go with the lunch, along with an offer of milk. And then you will get breakfast for the following day, along with a juice and a fruit.
The Nutrition Services Department is always here working hard to feed kids. So that's through the school year, and that does not stop in the summer. Kids still need meals in the summer. They need meals during a pandemic. They maybe more than ever. They're always in need of that. So we are always here working hard to give kids that access to healthy meals.
The Summer Meals program is just the latest effort by the VVSD Nutrition Services team to meet the ever-changing needs of the community, especially during the last year and a half during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Our team has been dynamic, nimble, and ready to serve throughout this entire time. We closed our doors in March, and within 48 hours, we were offering meals to the community district-wide. Our teams didn't skip a beat. They were ready to serve curbside through the snow, through the rain, through the heat. They loaded up on buses when we tried a delivery system. When we came back into brick and mortar for students, we had to reallocate staff according to needs. And again, they were just resilient, perseverant. And what I would say is what really powered them through it all is they felt appreciated.
It really made us feel appreciated when we got everyone to say thank you, thank you, thank you. People returned the kindness. Some people would bring coffee when it was cold and snowy and raining. Some people would bring desserts for us. We did have Ats and Ice provide us lunch one day with salad and pizza, and that was a very nice gesture.
The real reward was seeing our customer appreciation and, as you said, developing those relationships, getting to know, oh, here comes Mrs. Smith, and I know she's picking up for her neighbor. and her neighbor's 2 children, and Mrs. Smith would pull up and have that story to tell, and the neighbor picking up the next day. So anyways, we developed all these wonderful, wonderful relationships throughout the district with our parents and stakeholders.
Thank you to our nutrition services folks. Now, back to the regularly scheduled bills payment. Number 6.2, Gary.
Good. 2 schedule of bills for your consideration this evening. As is typical at this time of year, beginning with the schedule of bills for June 30th, we've got 5 funds representing $2,050,725.80.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Peril?
No, and I'm voting no, or I'm abstaining, I'm sorry, because I'm on the H2O board.
No, that's for the contract.
Member Badouris?
Good.
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
And President Quigley?
Yes.
President Quigley, I would like to change my vote. I'm going to abstain on this one.
Okay.
My apologies.
Understood. 6.3, Gary.
6.3 is the schedule of bills for the month of July. We've got 6 funds representing $3,737,117.42 for your action.
Motion?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Peril?
Abstain?
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Venegas?
Abstain.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Mr. Guzaffi.
The Treasurer's information reports, a summary of investments, property taxes received, the state funding update, as well as the all schools trust account activity are contained in the packet. Quick note on the state funding update. You'll see on there we were owed $2.5 million in transportation and special education reimbursement. Happy to report that those funds have been received, so they will be booked post June 30, but they will fall into the correct fiscal year. So we are ending the year with just about $60,000 owed from the state, which is quite remarkable, but certainly welcome. And so good news to report there.
Any other questions? State funding update, Gary. There's 2 $29,548 issues over 90 days. One's 181. Is that transportation related?
That is driver's education reimbursement for the prior year. Those typically have come in late. I'm not really sure why. You would think they'd want to just clear the deck, so to speak, but
okay, yeah. Thank you. State of Illinois owes us $2.5 million, which is actually in our minds a good thing because it's been a lot more in not too distant past. So 6.7, all schools trust. Anybody have any questions? Moving down the agenda, consent agenda items. Ms. Kinder.
Yes, I'm seeking the board's approval on 7 items underneath consent. 7.1, board meeting minutes, June 14th, 2021. 7.2, board workshop minutes from June 23rd, 2021. 7.3, executive session meeting minutes from June 14th and workshop minutes for June 23rd, 2021. 7.4, gifts to Romeoville High School and to the district from the library grant. 7.5, student activity contract for approval request, Beverly Scoff Elementary with HR Imaging. 7.6, student activity contract approval request, Oakview Elementary with Interstate Studio. And 7.7, IMRF benefits protection leave.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Ms. Perro, seconded by, you got it? Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
And President Quigley?
Yes. Liaison reports. Any and all from my right. Any and all from my left. Seeing none, moving down the agenda. Audience participation. I know some of you are here tonight to address the board. So if you are, this is the time you would do that. So we would ask you come up, state your name, where you're from, and keep your comments to approximately 5 minutes, if you would, please. If you have information you would like to present to us electronically or otherwise, please send it through the clerk or make copies available to the clerk also. And we thank you for your attendance. Either way, we also ask that if you have comments that have already previously been made in your speech, to kind of skip over those and address other things that have not been addressed. Thank you.
Good evening. I am a stay-at-home mom. We have been in this district for a long time, from preschool up to high school. Paulette Miller. I finally made it to a board meeting last month due to life itself. I listened to the board meeting, and when I left, I did not leave with a happy feeling to see the direction that this district is taking. And with that, I will explain. I'm going to keep it brief. I'm going to try, because I'm very passionate about this. I'm going to touch on the 3 comments that struck me. The first one, Mr. President, you made a comment. Basically, you made a point to let everyone know that you had checked with your lawyers, the school systems, the health departments, and everybody that you could to make sure that your butts were covered, that everything was covered. To be honest, I can appreciate that. But honestly, why do you need your butt covered so well? With that said, I'm asking you to remove the mandate of masks for our K through 12 students, all of them. Fact, this COVID has over a 99% chance survival rate. Children have a better survival rate. Fact, children are not proven to spread the virus. Fact, making them wear a mask is harmful. It's harmful to you and it's harmful to me, and so more harmful to our children. 1, it forces them to intake more CO2 than is healthy. Way more. It's harmful. 2, it lowers their immunities to fight off sicknesses. And 3, it harms them emotionally. And let me tell you, I can see this firsthand. Another fact is that more children have died from the vaccine itself than COVID, the virus. Also fact is that COVID is treatable. Therefore, the immunizations are only approved for emergency use. So why force our children to wear masks? Stop punishing them. I'm asking you to let them live as kids. Let them breathe. Stop forcing them. Another point that struck me was when you said your mission statement was outdated. I understand that. I've worked in the corporate world before, so change it. But in the same meeting, I got that you want to teach our children that racism, communism, and dysfunctional birds and bees is okay. And let me explain how I came upon this. The first one is racism. My high schooler came home from school calling everybody a racist for every reason under the book. Now you tell me how that is constructive. There is not one person in this room, on this board, that is racist. I don't see it with my kids. I don't see it with my family. I don't see it with my neighbors. It's not okay. My kids have friends of all different ethnic groups, and they're friends because of what's in here, not the color of their skin. Socialism, I know the high school taught socialism is a positive thing. Find me a country where that worked, that it succeeds. It doesn't. This is the United States of America. We are a free country today. I don't want it to change. And if you do, then maybe another country is where you should find a home. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel. The last point I want to make is the dysfunctional birds and bees. I don't know what is going on in the world today, and I don't like it. I don't like the fact that it's trickling down into our high schools. The story I got, somebody donated reading material to our Romeoville High School, and when my child looked for a book for Mother's Day, I got something in reference to a drag queen. Now, I understand that's not the worst thing that could happen, but I have seen reports across the United States of other things happening, and that's only the beginning. If this is coming through as a donation, what's to stop it to coming through into the classroom?
Ms. Miller, we would ask you to sum up your conversation.
Okay. The third thing that struck a nerve is that you want to raise our kids. It takes a village to raise a kid. It takes parents to raise a kid. I don't want you people raising my kids. I want you people teaching our kids. That's pretty basic. I think as a teachers, you are responsible to teach them reading, writing, arithmetic, science, and that. Life itself is to be taught by the families, not their teachers. So my final thought is this. As a board of this district, you have a choice. You can choose to mask our children and make them, I don't know what, or you can let them live. You can decide to go ahead with this communist, Marxism, socialist teachings, or you can stop it here. I'm asking you to do what's best for our children, not for your pocketbook and not for anybody else, but for our children. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent, fellow board members. So good evening. My name is Anthony Jablonski, and I'm our family's been a proud member of Bolingbrook for the past 16 years or so. We have 4 kids that are currently in the Valley View School District. As I look around this room, I want to point out a simple reminder that we're all here for only one thing, really. Both all the parents, all the administrators, the board members, we're here for the kids. Let's all keep that in mind when we're talking about this conversation. So there's many, many facets of this mask, no mask question. But I wanted to focus on a few personal items from my family's perspective, and then one key statistic. So first off, there are real physical impacts of mandating kids to wear masks in school. Let me consider the following 2 unprovoked quotes from 2 of my children. The first one, when I wear a mask, I feel I can't breathe. I get headaches and I feel tired. This is from one of my sons that has asthma, who knows exactly what it feels like to not be able to breathe. For those of you on the board, in the crowd, that do have asthma, you know how that feels. It's a very horrible feeling of you can't get a deep breath. This is what one of my sons said to me. One of my other sons said, I cannot concentrate, I cannot focus while wearing a mask. It's hard for me. This was from my one son who's in honors level high school classes. How do we expect our children to excel in their academics if there's such obstacles in their way? We're setting up our kids for failure. Once again, back to the kids. It's our responsibility to consider the physical health and well-being of our kids. Second, there's real emotional impacts of mandating kids to wear masks. 3 of my 4 kids have childhood apraxia of speech and have speech IEPs. They have worked very hard through great speech therapy in the school systems, through many countless hours in the private speech therapies to get them to a point where they could be understood by their fellow classmates and teachers. Through this hard work and dedication, this has led to an increased confidence throughout the years. As we, and most importantly, others have observed, when they have masks on, their speech is further muffled, and it's hard to understand them. As you can imagine, this is taking a major step backwards in the positive progress they have made throughout the last 10 years of their lives. It will erase the many years of hard work it took to get them where they are today. We fear their previous anxiety, which was real anxiety they had because other students and teachers cannot understand them, will come back as a result of them having to wear masks in the classroom. Once again, getting back to the kids, it's our responsibility to consider the emotional well-being of our kids as well. Third, switching gears a little bit, I wanted to highlight a very important statistic that we cannot forget. Not to diminish those impacted by COVID with underlying health conditions, based on CDC numbers, these are CDC numbers posted on their website, the COVID-19 infection fatality ratio in children is 0.001%. Now, I didn't say 1%, I said 0.001%. To put this number into perspective, this would be the odds of flipping a coin and landing it heads 17 times in a row. It is clearly based in the CDC numbers. COVID-19 presents a near zero risk of severe outcomes to children. With these numbers being almost non-existent, why would we ever consider making masks mandatory? Once again, getting back to the kids. It's our responsibility to consider the facts and make educated decisions based on the facts. In closing, we're just one family voicing our concerns of impacts of mandating masks to be worn in school. In my small sample size of only 4 children, you have heard real-life examples of struggles we will have if mandated to wear masks in school. Just imagine all the other families out there that have children in similar situations that will be impacted by wearing masks. You have heard me say a number of times already, please remember why you chose to serve on this school board. Always remember to think about the kids. I thank you for your time and strongly urge you to give parents the choice and make masks optional for the upcoming school year. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great rest of the night.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jerry Miller. Schools need to concentrate on reading, writing, and arithmetic. History, gym, sports, music, arts. Stay out of the parents' job of teaching kids to be adults and values. This is the parents' job, not the NEA Teachers Union. A student didn't understand a subject being taught in class. When a student asked the teacher said they had to go back. If they had to go back, they would fall behind with the curriculum. That doesn't sound like room for more curriculum to me. Things like CRT 1619 should not be taught in our schools. These are divisive and teach students to be racist. This is the opposite of what Martin Luther King wanted, or any person concerned with the children's well-being. CSE, a comprehensive sexual education, should not be taught to young children. This teaching teaches family values, not good family values, according to some parents, me being one of them. Again, this is what I call parents' job, not the schools. Saw a video on District 308, Oswego, Illinois school. District meeting, the school board meeting came out and the school board told the parents it wasn't up to the parents. The parents don't get a choice. They even went so far as to call the parents bullies when they are acting like dictators, like Hitler, Mussolini, even most recent, Fidel Castro. See what happens when people are pushed too far. If teachers can strike for pay, benefits, then we as parents can keep our kids home from school and protest in front of the schools, just like teachers do. We'll see how this goes first. Another topic, why are schools pushing for children with an over 99% survival rate to get experimental vaccines that the FDA has not even approved? One of the doctors who helped create mRNA vaccines, Dr. Robert Malone, doesn't recommend it for children under 18. Not enough data yet, especially with children getting things like myocarditis, pericarditis, just to mention a couple. Children should not be coerced into getting this experimental vaccine. That is our choice as parents. Again, there are treatments out there, and these treatments should be advertised more so that people are aware. People's own immune system is better than any vaccine. It can change to fight the variants. We all know what these treatments are. In this area, look up BAM. They don't let you almost die before putting you on a ventilator. They treat you before it's serious. This experimental vaccine is not transparent enough. Side effects being hidden from us. We raise our children, not the NEA Teachers Union, not we the parents. Quit pretending it is us. Unfortunately, my children are part of the indoctrination time. So us parents have to keep our children in the correct path. I'm pretty sure we as parents will have to do more pushing back or take our kids out of school. For these people out there, don't just take the word of the school board or any other politicians. Do your research. Look over, not just Google. Try search engines like DuckDuckGo, watch videos on Rumble, not just YouTube. Get different perspectives. Make your own mind. When you ask for details on your children's curriculum, they aren't forthcoming. To me, that's a red flag. Do your research. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening. My name is Ashley Silman Rodriguez, and I understand that the topic of mask mandates is not set for agenda this evening. However, it is a concern that some have, so I appreciate everyone listening this evening in regards to that. I am a mother of elementary age children. My family's been in the community for 60 years. I'm also the founder of the Fountaindale Library Micro Pantry. I have my master's degree in biomedical sciences. I currently work in the healthcare field, and I also have an immunocompromised family member. I have researched the issue of masks and COVID protocols in an unbiased manner, looking at both sides of the debate, and came to the conclusion that masking our children is not the answer in stopping or slowing the virus. Therefore, it should be optional for students and teachers in schools. In turn, forced masking actually hurts our children in more ways than one. The CDC, WHO, and IDPH have continually wavered on recommendations, not only for COVID-19, but other medical advice as well. However, the one thing that has not changed is how children learn and develop. Curriculum and teaching methods that are currently implemented in schools have been deeply studied and put in place because positive results were seen in educational settings with these methods. Some examples include facial cues from teachers and peers, learning in group settings, using manipulatives, and other techniques that COVID protocols have contraindicated. On the other hand, there is little known about COVID-19, and everything that is being recommended, such as masks, social distancing, and plexiglass barriers to mitigate the virus, are purely experimental or put in place to give people a false sense of security. We would be doing the children in our community a disservice by allowing these experimental restrictions to override the highly studied teaching philosophies that are proven to be beneficial to their overall psychological, physical, and emotional well-being. Masking needs to be at the discretion of parents and guardians, not mandated by a school board. I ask that masks be optional for all of our Valley View School District students and faculty, and plexiglass barriers and isolation techniques be diminished. I chose to homeschool my children this past year because I didn't agree with the protocols put in place, but not every child in this school district has that opportunity. I will continue to homeschool my kids, but I would like to allow them to be a part of this wonderful school district that taught me and allowed me to persevere in my life and have a wonderful education that allowed me to achieve a graduate degree and become successful in my career in the medical field. Thank you.
Thank you. Evening.
My name is Christy Banansky, and I have a son that is a senior this year at Romeoville High School. I'm here to also ask that masks be optional. I had a situation that I'm sure not many of you may have come in contact with, but in March of this year, my son tried to commit suicide because he was masked. This is something that really hits home for me. It was the hardest phone call I've ever had to make to 911 to have them come and remove my son from my house. He stated that the masks take away his identity, his freedom, and his right to live a normal life. And I truly agree. Your face is your identity. That is the first thing people see. And if you're covering half of your face, you're not seeing the true smiles from the kids or anything to that idea. COVID-19 is a 99.8% survival rate. We had COVID in our house this year during winter break. 2 of my family members had it, my son and his girlfriend. Both survived. Their only symptoms was a fever and a loss of taste and smell. No one else in our house came down with COVID. We isolated, we did what they said to do, but I'm just asking that the Valley View School District think before they mandate masks. I don't want another parent to go through what we went through. My child didn't want to live. He couldn't stand being masked. He inhales the fibers, it affects his lungs, it affects his throats, it affects basically everybody. I know there's a lot more kids that are suffering, and maybe they're not gonna come straight out and say, this is the problem I have. Depression and anxiety with masks is very high, and it's high in the teenage years. A suicidal student will not tell you they're suicidal. The signs are there, but if we don't look and we don't pay attention, we're not gonna know. I don't want my child or any other child to be a statistic of suicide. Also, on July 17th, the Illinois state mandated that they stated that they will not mandate any masks in school. I'm also asking that the plexiglass be removed, that classes return to normal class size, that kids are able to interact with each other, not 3 feet apart. It is very crucial in development for a child, a teenager going through this. I don't know if I would have survived a pandemic in my teenage years. I don't know, would any of you have survived a pandemic in your teenage years? We are burdening our children with something as simple as not having a mask. No mask, no burden, that's how I feel. And this is coming from my heart. I don't have CDC statistics, I don't have anything. I'm a parent who in March had to call 911 and ask, no lights, no sirens, because I don't know what my child will do. And to have to follow that was severe, and it hurt. I just want to leave you guys with just this one thought. Have any of you ever had to call 911 for a suicidal child because of a mask, or because they're just depressed because of what's going on in the world? My other thing is, and I want to just leave you with this thought, until you've had to follow that ambulance that has your child in it because they want to die, I don't think any of you guys are going to understand how it feels. I'm asking that masks not be mandated for the 21-22 school year, and that be put on for next vote. Our children deserve better. Mental health and masks are a big thing, and it really hits close to home when it's in your home. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Terry Campos, and we were told outside that the mask optional voting on it is not on the agenda, so we would like it to be on the agenda for next meeting, and I'll also email you guys to ask for it to be on the agenda. I've come here today to speak on an important topic regarding next school year, and that is regarding mandatory masks. The CDC just came out and said that their guidance, important word, guidance, is that school is open in person. However, if you are vaccinated, then you do not need to wear a mask, but if you are not vaccinated, then you need to wear a mask and still social distance. Why? Why would we do this to our children? School is hard enough for kids, especially teenagers, and now they want to be medically segregated. Separate the vaccinated from the unvaccinated. Punish those who choose not to get the vaccine because of medical or religious reasons or have valid concerns over them. When enough 16 to 24-year-old, mostly males, have had heart issues after receiving vaccines that the CDC had to hold an emergency meeting discussing these adverse reactions, there's room for concern, and my teenage son falls in that category. They tried this at my work. I had to sign a paper if you're vaccinated, and if so, you would be randomly asked to show proof of vaccine, and if you didn't sign it, you had to wear a mask. I took a stand and was told I had to take a leave of absence or I'd be fired if I showed up again without a mask. Well, I no longer work there. I stood up then and I'm standing up now for my kids. We need to stop this medical segregation. Last year we did e-learning and that failed our kids. We should have stood up then, but we didn't. And when the school said we can go back but have to wear masks, I sent my kids back in masks, even my 4-year-old, because I knew that being in person was better for them, and even though I knew it wasn't about health then and it wasn't necessary then, I did it because I wanted so badly for my kids and they wanted so badly to go back. But now we know better. Study after study after study shows that kids aren't affected the same way by the virus. They will be okay. In fact, studies show that kids wearing masks actually cause more harm than good. My 4-year-old does not need a mask, and it's crazy to say otherwise. Also, I'll add that I did look at the Will County Health statistic today. Nobody's died under 10. Nobody. Last year, my son was sent home because he had a stomach ache. No fever, no cough, no runny nose. He still had his taste and smell, and yet he had to quarantine for 14 days unless I made him get a test that he did not need. He had to quarantine for 14 days, and they also made his sister quarantine for 14 days. That made no sense to me then, and it still doesn't make sense to me now. Vaccines are readily available for anyone who wants them, and for those teachers who get it, and for those parents who get it for their kids, that's their choice and that's fine. But if you believe the vaccine works and you get it to protect yourself and your kids, then it shouldn't matter if an unvaccinated kid or teacher doesn't wear a mask, because that's what the vaccine's supposed to do, stop you from getting COVID or let you have a mild case. So I beg of you to look at the studies and stop this. Don't force our kids to be masked anymore. They don't need it, and don't force our kids to be medically segregated. It's not right, and embarrassing them and shaming them will not encourage parents to get the vaccine if they don't want it. I will also add that the mask mandates, the temperature checks, all the shutdowns, they're unconstitutional. They were unconstitutional last year, and they're still unconstitutional. If this is on the agenda and you guys can vote, do the right thing, vote for mask optional. Freedom is the most important thing, and I choose freedom every day over safety. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, board and parents. My name is Rick Van Buren. My wife Julie and I have been residents in Bolingbrook for 16 years. We currently have,
Thank you.
Hey, how we doing? We currently have 2 children in the Bolingbrook High School. And I know this pandemic, obviously back in March, was something new for everybody. We also have a restaurant, so we have been dealing with all kinds of changes. We're all adjusting to things. Trust me. We've had a lot of challenges, you know. One of our sons had COVID before. Again, mild symptoms, had a fever for 12 hours. That was it. We didn't segregate him. We didn't do anything in the house, and none of us got it. And again, I know everybody has their own personal experience with COVID. Some people have no issues. Other people that obviously have major issues. And I know everybody here, you've heard a lot of statistics from the CDC and and I've been doing research myself on COVID and what's going on and doing my own research, not listening to social media, not listening to Facebook, not listening to the news, because I want to know personally what's going on and what decisions I need to make for our family. And that's where I think, you know, we're here tonight to talk about the mask mandates, and I think some of this stuff, I feel bad that you guys are in a position that you have to make a vote on what we should do with our kids, and these are medical decisions I feel should, and all of you, like it, if you're talking about doing something, a medical procedure for your child, that should be between you and your child and your personal health care. So the fact that we got to this point in this pandemic where we're at a school board meeting having a discussion with you guys about what we should do with medical procedures for our own children, like I don't know how we got here, you know, but we are here, and I don't think children should be wearing masks. I think they've suffered enough and have sacrificed so much, like everybody has. But the children, they only get one childhood. You know, once you become an adult, you have lots of time as an adult. But this is their only childhood. Like one son missed his, you know, the 8th grade graduation. We drove through in a car and got handed a sign, and he went and took his picture. And that, you know, he's not going to get that back. We're not going to get that experience back. And people we've seen with different kids, it affects as you heard stories here tonight. I mean, teenage suicide is the second highest death rate for teenagers, and with just the pandemic alone is stress on everybody. And then the kids, they have to go in and wear masks. And again, talking about segregation, like we moved from the city of Chicago into Bolingbrook community because of the diversity, because we wanted our kids to have that diversity, and it's been awesome. And now it's you know, like this summer we had to make a decision that we didn't want our kids to be doing the saliva test, and we understand if, you know, that should be optional. Again, this medical procedure we should have some kind of say in, and our option was to either let our kids go to football camp, which they needed to do, they wanted to do, they needed to be out there playing with their peers, and we had to go against what we believed in order to allow them to play football this summer. So I don't know what the plans are for this school year, but I just ask you that, you know, can we all get back, and including you guys, and I don't think this should be on your plate to be deciding for us. Like it's unfair. But it's just where we're at, and I just, asked it, can we just, let the kids get back to being kids and have this year and a half they can't get back. It's gone. That's one thing we can never get back, and we can't get more of is time, right? And that time of their life is gone. So I just ask that you guys, think about all the comments tonight and just think about, again, we all said a pledge allegiance to the American flag, and that's, that we are in a free country, and we shouldn't be mandated to do things that we don't feel comfortable with or put our children in situations that they're not comfortable with. So I just ask that when it comes to masks, and we're also asked is make it optional. People that feel safer with it and more secure, and that's a health choice for them and their family, great. Like the division that goes on these days with people deciding over a vaccine or a mask, or like to me it's crazy. I don't know how we got here, but I don't want our kids to have to suffer anymore. They shouldn't have to take the burden of this anymore. I think they need to get back to normal, and we need to help them do that. We're the ones that have to help them do that. So I thank you for your time, and again, for everything you guys do. And again, I'm sorry that you guys are in the position to have to make this decision, because I don't think it's fair. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rosetta Spielman, and I've lived here in Bolingbrook for, it's going to be 17 years now. I have a beautiful young granddaughter that is in the Valley View School District. I actually work for the Valley View School District in one of the lunchrooms, and I'm not here as an employee. I'm here as a loving parent, a loving grandparent, and I even have my child with me tonight. But I'm so against these babies wearing these masks. For one, it makes them sicker. It harms them. It's literally, there's been a study, and I'm not a big statistic thing or anything, but there's been studies that they've taken these masks off of not just children, but adults too. And there's more germs in that masks than it is for them to breathe the fresh air that God has given us. Our best immunity is the immunity that God gave us, inside of us. And I can't let my granddaughter go back to school if she has to wear a mask, or if the school board is going to force that she has to have a shot that's going to kill her. I have a good friend that her husband was forced to take the vaccine because he needed a pacemaker. He got the first vaccine. He was a little okay. He got the second vaccine. Within hours, he was in the hospital on a ventilator for 55 days, and he died. He died. I don't wish that on anybody. And the school board should be on the parent side, not on the government side, not on the political side. You're here for us. You're here for our children. Fight for our children so that they get back to normal life. Normal life. Plexiglass is not a normal life. Covering your beautiful smile is not a normal life. My baby girl needs to breathe fresh air. Everybody here's child, every person here needs to breathe the fresh air. Our Father in heaven decides when we go. Not a shot, not a school board, not another human being. It's God in heaven that decides when we go. And if he's going to take us, he's going to take us no matter what. And this thing about racial diversity, come on. Where is that educational? That's showing division instead of unity. Valley View School District is about unity. You say it yourself, we're about unity. But teaching that this race is better than that race, or this race has to do this and this race has, when you put a color in front of your race, you're racist. We're human beings. We're created under the same God. And I don't know if you appreciate me talking about the Lord like this, but this is my heart. Jesus Christ is my Savior, not the Valley View School District Board members. Jesus Christ is. And Jesus Christ is everybody else's Savior. So when he calls us home, he made us. If I get cut, I'm gonna bleed red. If you get cut, you're gonna bleed red. So please, take the vote. Let our babies be babies. Let them be back to normal. They lost a year of their life. My little girl was in the house for a year on a Zoom meeting that even when she didn't understand something, the teacher didn't go back. If she got kicked off the Zoom meeting because of the internet, the teacher didn't go back. So who was teaching her? It wasn't her third grade teacher. It was grandma. I was teaching her when that teacher was being paid to teach her. And if my little girl didn't understand something, the teacher asked at the end of the day, how do you vote? How do you feel about what happened today? Give it a 1 or a 5, a 1 meaning that it was really bad, a 5 meaning that it was excellent. My little girl gave it a 1. The teacher asked her, why do you give it a 1? And she said, because I was bored. And the teacher stopped her, didn't let her continue. The teacher told my granddaughter, my little girl, that let me tell you why you were bored. The reason you were bored is because you're a boring person. Where does that come in with the school board? How does the school board feel about that? When the school board forced me to keep my granddaughter in Zoom, and then when she gets kicked off, she gets told that she's a boring person. She's 9 years old. She deserves a life. She deserves to be 9 years old. She deserves to have the freedom that God gave her, not the punishment that the school board gives her, to have to wear a mask, because I'm not sending her back. If you guys say that my baby has to wear a mask, I will be the first to head up one of those marches in front of Jonas Salk Elementary School and say, this is not right. My child should have the freedom to be in school because my taxes pay for it, by the way. My property taxes pay for it. So she has the right to be in school and to be with her friends and to be a happy little girl. Not a little girl that's sitting behind and looking at an iPad and saying that the iPad is her best friend because she was put behind a computer for an entire year. So please, the love of mothers and fathers, grandmas, grandpas, let our children be free to breathe the air that God gave us to breathe, because that's what we're meant to do. That's what we're meant to do. So please, let our babies breathe. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kelly Underwood, and before I get started with my speech, I just wanted to first thank you all for listening to us this evening, and especially thank you for putting together the video that you showed us at the start of the evening. I really enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed seeing familiar teachers like Trish Fredrickson and Brenna Hill and all the students that we're familiar with in all these awesome schools. And the major point that I wanted to make was nobody was wearing masks in that video. That's why it looked so awesome. You could see their expressions and see the joy that they had to be in our buildings in this district. Okay, I've had 4 children attending all of these schools in this district for the past 15 years. I've accepted, or my children have accepted, countless awards on this very stage. A single 4-letter word brought me here this evening. And that word might not be what you think it is. It's actually love. It's love for my country, love for my community, and love for my children. I would love for each and every one of you to open your minds and your hearts and listen truly to what each of us has to say this evening. I believe masks should be optional. For the parents who have a sense of security, in my opinion, maybe a false sense of security, to have their children wear masks all day in school, it's their choice. And this district prides themselves on giving students and parents choice, the option of choice. So if parents want to send their kids in a mask and they have that option, good, let them. But it should also be our choice for the parents who believe that masks are harmful to students, that we should not have to force our children to wear masks. I pulled my kids out of this district last year. And I've been PTO president at SCOFF for all the years that my kids were there. I've been on the calendar committee. I'm an involved parent. I pulled them out of here, and we homeschooled because this district, I wasn't happy with what you guys were doing last year at all. They want to return to school. My daughter is behind me, and she's going to speak after me. She wants to come back. She wants to be with her friends and her peers and her marching band and her volleyball team. But my husband and I are not going to force her to attend here in a mask. It's ridiculous. Here's all the reasons I believe that it is harmful for children to be wearing masks. So, sorry. I realize that you might not agree with my opinions, and that's okay. There are other parents in this district that have different opinions. Most of us here tonight are of the opinion that masks should be optional. That doesn't take away the option for those parents to mask their children. There are some other choices that are being acted upon in our district, such as some students choose to use a male restroom when they are biologically female, and vice versa. That's something that maybe I don't agree with, but it's their option and their choice, and this board has given them that option. There are also students who are born biologically female, and when they have their time of the month, they don't want to use feminine products. This is happening at RHS. This is happening, where the student does not feel that they want to use feminine products, and they bleed on the student's desk chair or the bleachers from class to class as the day goes on. And that's unsanitary in my opinion. But apparently, those students are allowed to exercise that choice to do that all day. I can't even believe we're arguing about a choice of whether or not to wear masks when kids are allowed those options during the school day. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So again, if you believe that the students should have those options, I think that they should also have the option of whether or not to wear a mask, even if you don't agree with it. Like I said, there's things that I don't agree with either, but you guys are all about having options and choice, and I think there should be an option of not wearing a mask. Masks also do not work. COVID virus particles are 1,000 times smaller than what a surgical mask can filter. I used to work in the ER at Edward Hospital and Palos Hospital. I come from the healthcare community, and I'm telling you, it goes against all of our training. I teach CPR in this community for Romeoville Fire Department, for Plainfield Fire Department. I teach bloodborne pathogens. I'm telling you, it's not how it works. It's like tossing sand literally through a chain link fence. Cloth masks are even worse. Surgical masks even come with a warning, and I quote, does not protect against COVID-19 transmission. I have photos of surgical mask boxes for the clerk when I'm done speaking. And cloth masks are even less effective. After receiving and reviewing all mask studies, the CDC recently concluded, and I quote, there is no reduction in viral transmission with the use of face masks. mask spread illnesses. In 2008, the famous Anthony Fauci, if you follow mainstream media, you all know who he is, co-authored a study about the Spanish flu. His own findings were that most of the 500 million people who died during the Spanish flu actually died of secondary pneumonia caused by wearing face masks. The normal level of carbon dioxide exposure for a person is about 400 particles per, what did I say that was? Million. I'm just like nervous, sorry. At 1,000 particles per million, you start to lose brain function. The maximum allowable level is 2,000 particles per million. Anything over 2,000 is unacceptable. A German study of over 25,930 children recently showed that after 9 minutes of mask wearing, levels reached up to 25,000 parts per minute. That is unacceptable. 2,000 is unacceptable. And I just wanted to bring up another point, and I do have all of my studies with me. I can hand them over to the clerk if you would like to review them. I didn't pull this out of my butt, and I just would like to say, ma'am, I don't know your name, but you've been coughing. I hope you're okay. And I noticed, though, when you coughed, like you removed your mask and you touched your mouth and then grabbed your water bottle and took a sip, and I don't blame you for doing that at all. But then I watched you ask the gentleman to your right for his water bottle and touch your computer and touch everything at your desk. That's how the germs, like, we're making it worse. You just coughed into your mask, withheld all of that bacteria and germs on your face, and then you touch it and touch everything else. And kids are gonna do the same thing. I would do the same thing. I'm not trying to like single you out or anything, but that's what kids are gonna do too, and it's just gonna be a more harmful spread of germs. I truly think masks are harmful for our students. I think that they're damaging them in emotional ways, and just to touch on the suicide rate has gone up over 900%, especially in the age group between 11 and 19. Where are our kids when they're 11 to 19? They are right here in our schools. Their suicide rate is up 900%. What do you think that's about? Please, 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 please do some critical thinking and see what makes sense to you. It makes sense to me to keep my kids home if this district does not unmask our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather,
Hello. Oh, hello.
please state your name.
Morgan Underwood. I'm a former student of Romeoville High School. I'm a junior now. Okay. Masks make me feel unheard, isolated, punished, trapped, and most of all, suffocated. I think I can speak for everyone. I think I can speak for everyone in the room when I say this has been the most strange year any of us have been through. What you guys are calling as of right now, it's not school. It's isolation in a different environment. Stay 6 feet apart, mask over the nose, sanitize your hands after each touch of a doorknob. That's not what school is supposed to be. As much as we all hate it, we see it as an escape from our home, our chores, our parents, our siblings. It's a place we can go for 6 hours a day and have an escape and be with friends and learn new things. We should be able to run around and be able to catch our breath and not have to stretch the elastic from our ears. This has been the hardest past few months of my life. These months have felt like eternity. Everyone asking, how is school? And it's always an I don't know. And now I'm going through the obstacle of having to switch schools because my parents don't think our district is good for my mental health, and I don't blame them. Our lives are already depressing as it is, and wearing a mask on top of it is just like we're literally being suffocated. I'm being suffocated every single day. I feel like something new is just gonna one-up the previous day. I had to isolate myself when all I wanted to do was hang out with friends and be at school. I never thought I would have that feeling. I'm sorry. And when school came back in person, it's just like isolating yourself in another room. I cannot tell you how many times I've thought to myself, I want things to be normal again, or wish life wasn't like this anymore. And I'm 110% positive I'm not alone in this. No one wants to live like this. Seeing everyone in mass is just so upsetting. Being one every day is even more upsetting. I can't catch my breath, and you just feel restrained. During band, after sprinting across the RHS football field, our field director told us, if you need to catch your breath, pull down your mask from the bottom. Otherwise, you can take it off, but face your head towards the ground at a 90-degree angle. I'm sorry, but not only is that just flat out stupid, but how do you expect us to catch our breath with bending over? They even always tell us, since you start band in middle school, stand up as tall as possible and have your lungs reach your full capacity. It makes no sense whatsoever. And here I gathered some inputs from fellow students that from the past year went to RHS, and they stated how they felt in a mask. Student number 1, hearing that recording on the intercom felt incredibly dystopian and so unnecessary. I didn't have a lunch period, and I couldn't even pull down my mask in class to have my granola bar. I had to run to the bathroom to wolf down a snack and get back to class. I just felt so restricted and confined. Student number 2, throughout the day, I felt sick wearing my mask, and I felt like there was more germs on my face than without wearing one, because we would end up taking it off and putting it on somewhere that already has a lot of germs, then putting it back on and breathing in the same germs. I couldn't breathe. I did sports such as badminton, and we wore masks, and I was about to faint with one on. All the sweat that was built up in the mask from me sweating just felt gross and caused more and more acne and skin problems. Some people have breathing problems. I have breathing problems. Throughout the day, I literally cannot breathe. Taking a test, I'm already stressing and sweating my butt off, trying to do good, but I can't take a deep breath because the mask is blocking me from doing so. I feel like I'll get bullied without the mask, though, which is unfair, but I'd rather not have one on and not care what they think. I know what my own health is like. I can help myself, and I don't need strangers telling me to wear a mask or not. They don't know what my medical life looks like. If you want to wear a mask, then so be it, but if not, that's perfectly fine too. I don't judge. Do what makes you feel safe. Student number 3, wearing masks affected my learning due to not being able to understand my teachers and have to constantly ask for them to repeat themselves, vice versa as well. Along with that, I did not have a lunch, and eating in class was no longer something I could do to match the policies, so that was frustrating. Wearing a mask was a really terrible experience in my opinion. Sorry, this is student 4. I wasn't able to eat, and it was much harder to focus. I got more headaches and was hungry during the day because of how it was set up. And in my personal opinion, wearing a mask and seeing other people wear one around me feels so surreal. Well, it did at first. Now it feels normal, and that's not how life should be. It shouldn't be normalized not seeing half of someone's face. That's half their expression. That's half of how we communicate, like all the expressions you have on your face right now. We all have them. As a student living through this and trying to make the best of it, I shouldn't feel forced or feel wrong for not wearing a mask or being vaccinated when ethically it's no one's business. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm standing here in front of all of you as a concerned mother, concerned nurse, and concerned citizen. Marian Turski, a deaf... Huh?
Can you give us your name for the record?
My name is Paulina Kraśniewska-Worwa. Marian Turski, a deaf camp survivor, said last year, Auschwitz didn't fall from the sky just like that. And if you do not know the history, I would like to remind you how segregation have led to the death camps. First, in Germany, Jewish people were forbidden to sit on benches in parks. After that, they were forbidden to enter public swimming pools. Nobody said nothing. Next, they were not allowed to shop before 5 p.m. Then Jewish children were forbidden to play with German kids. Like that, from month to month, slowly, step by step, freedom was taken, and then there were enough voices to resist the progression of the step of further segregation. This was a beginning, and it ended in falling human ash. Why do I tell you all this? Like I said, I'm here as a concerned mother. What I'm afraid more than mandatory masks, and I would love to see optional masks in our schools, is medical segregation based on vaccination status. I cannot allow for medical segregation, vaccinated and masks, unvaccinated masks. We are teaching our kids about respect, equal rights for all, no discrimination based on skin color, religion, tradition, culture, and even sex right now. Therefore, I beg you, please do not implement mask regulation that would segregate our children based on vaccination status. And if you do not know what this segregation will lead to, and you know history, I just presented to you, I will also tell you this. It will lead to fear, hate, bullying, peer pressure, anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts and suicidal attempts. Would you assume the responsibility for those outcomes? I'm here also as concerned nurse, and I will say this. Only particulate respirators may, I repeat, may be effective for droplet transmission, splatters, airborne microorganisms. Currently, N95 masks are 95% efficient in preventing of tuberculosis, SARS, and influenza. Fundamentals of nursing. This is what they were teaching me at Northern Illinois University. Page 699, 9th edition. So let me tell you, surgical mask or cotton mask do not protect us from SARS-CoV. No, this is what they were teaching me. I have a bachelor's degree. Therefore, please do not make our children to wear masks unless they want to. Unless they want to. Something to think about for all of you and all of us. Our children are being told that COVID-19 is dangerous and kills, and if they're gonna catch it, bring it home, they're gonna kill grandpa and grandma, and everybody gonna die. And then they go to lunchroom, take off their masks, and eat their lunch peacefully. Tell me, does COVID-19 has a lunch break too? What are you teaching our children? What are we teaching them? Do you think they are that stupid? They are not. They see that it's just not right. Something is wrong. Why I have to put mask in this room, but I can take it off in that room? They see it. They are smart kids. And please do not tell me about ability to get COVID-19 vaccination. All COVID-19 experimental vaccination, they are not approved by FDA. They are not. They received emergency use status only. They are experimental products, and clinical trials will not end until 2022 and 2003. Moderna and Pfizer already got tagged with myocarditis. And you know that from even mainstream media. And recently, last week, Johnson & Johnson was tagged with Guillain-Barré syndrome. I will not go into details regarding virus vaccine, adverse events reporting system, but there were already 11,000 deaths reported to VARS, to include 12 deaths among 12, 17 years old. Children Health Defense Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I am a nurse with a bachelor's degree, and I will not get COVID-19 vaccine unless you will find me a doctor who will sign a legal document stating that he, the doctor, will take full responsibility for any side effects after COVID-19 vaccination or any other vaccination. Full responsibility, financial, medical, therapeutic. And you know what? I cannot find a doctor like that. And you know why? Federal Bill S-174 from 1986, signed by President Reagan. And it is Title 3, Subtitle 2, Part B. I have it. You can print it. You can look that up. Provides that no vaccine manufacturer shall be liable in a civil action for damages arising from vaccine-related injury or death resulting from unavoidable side effects. This bill was never revoked. Never. You will not find a doctor who will sign a legal informed that he's taking full responsibility. In addition, I don't know if you know, PrEP Act from March of last year gave extra protection to all COVID-19 vaccination manufacturers from any liability. Nobody is responsible for it. So please, do not segregate our children. Don't tell them about the vaccines. They are our choices to teach them what is best for them, according to what we believe in. In summary, please make masks optional for our children. Please do so. Please do not segregate our children based on the vaccination status. And please do not push more fear propaganda. We, the people, demand freedom of choice, and some school districts boards already gave that freedom back to their students. Please follow their steps. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I won't be speaking for so long. Good evening, parents. Wearing mask at school, it was kind of
Can you give us your name,
illogical.
please?
Huh?
For the record, your name?
Alexandra Labuda.
Got it.
It was kind of illogical because they had to wear it in the classrooms, but they didn't have to wear it in the cafeteria. Or if they were playing in bands, they were wearing masks with holes in them. I don't understand the logic of it. It doesn't work, and I don't know how can we accept that. Other thing is that e-learning was actually, for one thing, good, because we as a parents got to see what our kids are taught at school. And sometimes, I will tell you, it was scary. I'm Polish. I was born in Poland when Poland was a puppet of Russia. Socialism, it was at the first place. I know how it works, yes? And many of you, Polish community is huge in here at Romeoville and Bolingbrook. We know it all. Right now, I'm in America, I'm at Citizens, and I'm scared what other kids are taught at school. Because this is socialism, and socialism doesn't work. And socialism is only a cover for communism. So this is scary. So I would like to ask you too, to not indoctrinate our kids. Please, they don't have to have it. Topics that were started with the teachers sometimes, and the fights on Zoom and Zoom classes were horrible. And I really don't want my kids to learn that. I don't want them to be told that if somebody is rich, part of the money should be taken from them because they don't need 5 yachts, for example. Who gives you the right to decide what is too much? Maybe this person was working for the whole life. Maybe this person was trying so hard and open a business that finally worked. Maybe this person is giving other people, thousands of people, jobs. And you're going to tell them that this is not right, that they have 5 yachts? This is not for us to decide. This is socialism. And one thing that is so in socialism, we had it in Poland. Yeah, healthcare was free, wasn't it? We were all equally poor. We don't want that anymore. We want our children to have better lives. That's why we came to America. Please do not indoctrinate our kids. Teach them history, but let them decide what they want and how they want to think. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Evening.
Good evening. I'm Jim Fisher. I have 3 kids, scratch that, 2 kids. One actually walked in his graduation this year. So you guys are having some success. Although there's a lot of things aren't pretty. And one of them is masking and spitting. So, but before I get into the quick detail, I want to just go back a year. A year ago, this board voted that our kids must go remote, and they must do it immediately. And there's one person on this board that voted, yes, we should open the schools. Can you raise your hand just to, which board member actually voted to let the schools stay open? Thank you. And I do also want to point out that I see Steve's big smile. Don't try to hide it. I see James, JT. I see your big smile. And I look into the crowd. Usually there's only like 5 people here, and 3 of them are here to see their award for their kid. So you guys caused this. These people want to have control of their kids. You're not doing it. You're taking away a medical right that they have. So it's not on the agenda today. It should be. You guys should walk away from here at least voting yes or no. Instead, you guys are hiding behind your lawyers. You're hiding behind the teachers union. Where's the teachers union representative today? Are they in the crowd? Exactly. You know what? When you guys voted no to open schools, the teacher union, they presented 60% of their people said, let's shut down the schools. And guess who you listened to? The union, not the teachers. The parents are here today. Please listen to them. Okay, so here's the deal. You guys are supposed to be representing this crowd, 16,000 students. I look out there, most of the people have no masks. I look here, and the people who are going to vote, whether or not my kid must go 5 full days a week with a mask, there's only 2 not wearing a mask. Every one of you don't have the courage to stand up and take the mask off. So try to consider that. And I know Robert's rules of law. You don't have to have something on the agenda to vote. So when we leave today, I really hope you guys at least vote to let the kids not spit, let the kids not have a mask, and move us forward to get back to normal. You are adults representing the community. We're here to ask you to do so. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Camille. My name is Camille Holcomb. I grew up in Bolingbrook. I've only not lived in the VVSD school district area for 4 years of my life, 3 of which were in Florida, and 1 was in Willowbrook. Anyway, I grew up in this school district. I went to Bolingbrook High School, first graduating class in the new building. I went to Jane Addams. I had wonderful teachers. But I'm not going to put my kids in VVSD. I have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. My 5-year-old could be going to kindergarten. I'm not going to put them in VVSD. I'm not going to put them in public schools because I see what schools are doing. And I see how my school board has done so far. I went to school for education. I have my degree in preschool to 12th grade education with a specialty in art. I was a manager at a learning center for over a year. I taught in a private school in the preschool classroom, and I helped kindergartners learn how to read. And I taught art as well in elementary in a private school. I wouldn't even want to teach in this environment. I could. I love teaching. I love students. Children are my passion. And I know you guys love kids too. I mean, that's why you're on a school board, you know, because you love kids and you love the community. And it is extremely, I can't even imagine what you guys are going through as a board with what some of you are just voted on, and it's got to be incredibly difficult just being thrown in this position, and you're getting information from every which way, and the government's not been doing a very good job at being consistent, and we don't blame you for that. It's not easy, and I empathize with you guys. But children need consistency. They need stability, consistency. They need patterns. They need to have a regular schedule. The going back and forth and changing one week and another week, it's maddening. And I can understand how children would be psychologically affected by that. I mean, their entire lives are being ripped apart and changed every which way, 1 month, 1 week to the next. I mean, they never know what to expect next. I mean, the anxiety of that. But I also, I sympathize with people that are, terrified of getting ill. In the beginning, I was terrified. My husband works in HVAC, so he works in a profession that goes into people's houses for his job, and we are a single income family because I homeschool my children. I wanted to raise my children. I didn't want to put them in daycare because I wanted to be their mother, and I wanted to love on them as long as I could. But in the beginning, I was terrified because, I saw what the news was saying. I saw what they were saying online, and he was going to these people's houses, and nobody knew what the truth was and what was a lie. And, I was like, get away from me the first week that everything was starting to shut down, lock down. And he's also immune compromised. So I was even more terrified for his health. So I understand that side too. I mean, when my husband gets sick, when he gets a cold is not just a cold, it's a sinus infection, and that could end up put him in the hospital. And when he's in the hospital, his white blood cell count goes off the charts, and they have to give him IV fluids. The day before we were supposed to go on our honeymoon, this was years ago, but he just came down with something random, and he was in the ER for a whole day for something mild. So I understand, the decision, what weight is on people's shoulders. Surprisingly, my children got COVID, and I did, but my husband didn't. So what are the odds, right? But they had a fever and coughing and throwing up, but for a day. Anyway, so there was one thing that somebody said that I kind of want to go back and revisit because it wasn't totally correct. Both the CDC and and IDPH, they're not saying that masks are required. They're saying that they're recommended for students in schools if they can't get the vaccination or if they don't want it, whatever their parents decide, which it should be the parents' choice, the family's choice. So it's recommended. And what we've learned throughout the past year is what words mean, what required means, what mandate means. Recommended, it means you have the freedom to make them optional. And one of the schools in southern Illinois, they decided to go maskless or optional before the rulings, the recommendations, the guidelines were given out, and IDPH threatened to take away their money, their funding, school funding, and IDPH has since rescinded their statement. They've given a letter to that school district saying, we apologize, we don't have that authority. They don't have the authority to take away your funding. And I know that's terrifying too, because you have to think about what do we do if somebody wants to sue us for whatever? I mean, they can't. So I just ask that you give the parents the right to choose what's right for their family, either way. And that either way, whether a student is wearing a mask or isn't, they shouldn't be discriminated against. I mean, I don't want to see the kids that wear masks to school get bullied by anybody either. And I honestly don't think once the schools do open, hopefully full time, I don't think that the kids are going to be worried about that either, because they're going to be so elated to see their friends again. Hopefully, their smiles. So, thank you. I appreciate you guys for listening to us. Other school boards do not give parents this much time. Plainfield PSD 202 gives 20 minutes max with 2 minutes per person. So you guys are getting ice cream right now. So I thank you so much for your time. I don't want you guys to be here for forever, but we look up to you guys. I know you guys are wonderful people, and I know you guys do things in your own lives that help better the community. I know people that work within the district. and they know you personally, and they have said very good things about you guys. So I just want the parents to keep their hope in you guys too. I want them to be on your side, because they will be on your side. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments, moving down the agenda. Ms. Kinder, Portraits of a Learner.
Okay, I know this is not the report that everyone came forth this evening. I do appreciate all the voice and input from the community members and parents that are present this evening. And with everything that we do, that is an important component, is partnership, is voice from our stakeholders, parents, community members, students, and staff, and that is vital to us in Valley View School District. This item that I'm seeking the board's approval on this evening is for Portrait of a Learner and Strategic Planning Services, which I had presented information at a previous board meeting on June 14th. And this is essentially a process that we will be engaging in to re-engage with our community and re-envision what it is we want for our learners when they graduate from Valley View School District. There's a lot of comments tonight that deal with the current situation with COVID, with pandemic response, and the last year and a half, that's really what we've primarily been focused on, is health and safety, crisis management, dealing with a pandemic that no one was prepared for. As an administrator, as a leader, as an educator, as a parent, it was all things that we've been learning and planning for. Of course, that's going to remain at the forefront of health and safety and the decisions that we're making and moving forward. And at the same time, it's also my responsibility and charge as superintendent of Valley View School District to think beyond COVID, beyond the pandemic, and looking into the future and evolving together as a community and as a district for our learners, learner, every day. So this process that I am proposing that we engage with is essentially about community engagement, re-engagement, partnering with our stakeholder groups from parents, community members, business owners, students, staff, so many individuals to really talk about what it is that we want for our learners and what are those things that are most important for them when they graduate and go on to their post-secondary lives. What does college, career, and life ready really mean? So what I'm seeking the board's approval on is to engage in a partnership with Parental for Kids, a nonprofit organization that will bring us to a point of engaging in a re-engagement effort with the community, and then using that to be the vision that helps us re-engage and elevate what it is that we're doing in Valley View School District to best prepare our kids for the real world, for life beyond high school. From the visioning portion, we would then engage in a strategic planning process to help chart that course. And so the details were shared with the board at the June 14th board meeting. Those are available in the board packet as well. And I'm seeking the board's approval on the partnership with Parental for Kids to partner in the Portrait for a Learner process and strategic planning services.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Venegas, Campbell, Venegas. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, seeing none, a roll call vote would be in order.
Member Parental? Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Baduras?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
And President Quigley.
Yes. Mr. Grizafi, property casualty.
We've got 5 action reports for your consideration this evening, beginning with our property casualty, student accident, and educators legal liability program renewal. With the help of our broker Alliant, we have extended our coverages for 1 month to better position the district for the renewal, meaning the renewal lines of coverage and associated premiums will now cover the period August 1, 2021 to August 1, 2022. According to Alliant, overall renewal increases are in the 10 to 25% range, and it's not just limited to school districts or public entities. This is particularly the case with cyber liability insurance, where rates have been impacted by the ever-increasing cyber attacks and lack of sufficient controls. Even though we are implementing MFA, or a multi-factor authentication, during the next several months, we received a coverage quote at a cost that is almost double from where it was 1 year ago. At this time, we're recommending we move this coverage from Access to Chubb/ACE, with $1 million of cyber coverage. Once we implement MFA, it's believed that the limit will increase to $2 million with full implementation of the MFA controls. We're also recommending that we don't renew the excess liability follow form coverage, which provides an additional $5 million of layer of coverage of overall protection for the district above the $10 million that our excess provides us. Carriers are continuing to leave this marketplace, and those that remain limit or exclude many coverages that are previously covered, and those that do remain do so at a premium that is prohibitive, and that's in the premium summary that's attached in the exhibit. At this time, we're recommending that we keep our liability coverages with Liberty Mutual, our property coverage with Affiliated FM, our pollution liability with Iron Shore, storage tank liability with Nautilus, and our student accident catastrophic coverage moved to Guaranteed Trust Life due to a more competitive quotation. Overall, our insurance program will increase by $84,498, or 9.4%, at a total cost of $982,450. So the recommendation is to approve those services, approve Alliant Insurance Services to procure and provide those coverages as illustrated for a period of August 1, 2021 to August 1, 2022.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion and second. Is there any questions or discussion? Gary, we thought that was going to be a lot higher, didn't we? I mean, you were kind of...
We're recommending the drop of the excess follow form coverage. That's about $107,000. Last year it was 67. The year before it was 50, and 4 or 5 years before that it was 32. What we're told is that typically, if there's a suit of that magnitude, they're going to sue for the policy limits of the coverage. I think the highest to date, at least what they're telling me, is about $9 million. That's a very catastrophic loss, obviously, but we would still have coverage up to the $10 million limit. So this excess has really become prohibitive, and if it comes down, if the markets soften, as they sometimes do, we would certainly consider that coverage again, but at this time, it just doesn't make sense.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, a roll call would be in order.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Devices.
Next, we have the technology devices, laptops for paraprofessionals. We've determined that the provision of a one-to-one laptop device is warranted to ensure parapros can meet the needs of the new needs of their role. We saw that during the pandemic. The Chromebooks that they were provided just weren't robust enough to provide the service that they felt they needed. So we've got a lot of feedback from the parapros throughout the district, several grade levels. Those Chromebooks that were purchased back in 2019 will be utilized as spare and loaner devices for the grade levels 2 through 5. We are recommending a purchase of 275 devices. Total cost $405,900 for the two-in-one laptops. This is a touchscreen device that can be used also as a tablet for the parapros to support enhanced technology needs as illustrated.
Motion?
So, second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call
Was this
vote, please.
brought to us
Oh.
before, Gary?
No, it's a good question. Typically, we would bring it to you as an information report, but due to the demand for all things computing, we are recommending that we take this straight to action. I did not mention that this would be covered primarily from ESSER grant funding, as well as federal emergency connectivity funding. So there are 2 grant sources. This would not be local dollars. So I think that's important for consideration. But again, we just didn't want to wait until early part of August to place the order, and that's why it's coming to you straight for action.
Any other questions? Roll call vote, please.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
And President Quigley?
Yes.
Next is the renewal of the caretaker agreements for the purpose of implementing the use of facility dogs in 2 of our buildings. We entered into these annual agreements for consistent or up-to-date daily use of service dogs. This agreement includes a provision of a payment of $750 stipend per semester to the dog owner for the costs related to the care of the dog, and safety, including liability insurance, dog health, and continued training. In return, they agreed to become responsible for the school's support dog, both during and outside of school hours, and assume all liability. These agreements have been reviewed by both our insurance carrier and our district attorney. This is the, I think, second year of these renewals, or these agreements rather. We are recommending approval of the renewal of these caretaker agreements for facility dogs at R.C. Hill Elementary and Lukanczyk Middle School.
Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Peril?
Yes.
Member Baduris?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
And President Quigley.
Yes.
Next is a recommendation for approval of intergovernmental agreement and amendments to the IGAs, existing IGAs with the Village of Romeoville. We've had numerous discussions going back as far as March of 2020 regarding the amended language while the fields were in construction phase and through completion. These accompanying documents have been prepared by both parties, legal counsel, and reflect the terms of agreement between the two parties. There are 4 documents being presented for approval. First is an amendment to the intergovernmental agreement dated July 1st of 2009. This is the original IGA referenced in a longstanding agreement between the two governmental bodies that address shared usage of both parties' facilities. The amendment states that the district and village shall meet annually in February of each year during the term of the agreement to discuss A, the performance and administration of the agreement, and shall include any discussion of any proposed capital improvements and costs to the outdoor facilities at Romeoville High School associated with the agreement, and shall be mutually agreed to by the district and the village. B, any scheduling issues pertaining to the fields will also be discussed. And lastly, the existence of construction, remodeling, or renovation that would limit or affect the availability of the fields for use by the parties. Second document is the first amendment to the 2009 facility agreement, Exhibits A through E. This is where we add the new ball field complex to the IGA and adds a 5-year licensing agreement for use of district facilities for parking for Romeo Fest and/or Rib Fest. Third document is the Athletic Facilities Redevelopment Intergovernmental Agreement. We shared this with you at the March 22nd board meeting. This kind of outlines, or does outline, the district's or the village's use of the facility for their own use and third-party agreements. And there's several bullet points listed there. School district shall maintain first and primary use of the new athletic fields. The village can schedule ball field usage between May 1st and October 31st, Monday through Thursday from 6 to 10:30 p.m. Third-party tournaments can schedule ball field usage between Memorial Day and Labor Day. A usage fee will be charged each game on the field for the Village of Romeoville and third-party tournaments, with a 15-game allowance built in for in-house team usage. Use of the ball field lighting will cover an additional charge for night games after the allowance. The village also agrees to reimburse the district for costs associated with the design and construction of a new water main line that ran north of the property at Romeoville High. They also agreed to provide a payment of $1 million for the installation of field lighting at the new complex. Lastly, we've got the first amendment to the intergovernmental agreement dated August 16th, 2017. This removes the temporary status of the modular office building located on the grounds of Romeoville High School. This was placed on the campus, as you may recall, as a means to address the shortage of space for the district's bus fleet and accompanying drivers. We've reviewed this, like I said, extensively for almost a year and a half between the village and the district. We've had staff time, attorney time, and both parties agreed to bring this forward to their respective boards for consideration of approval. And so at this time, we're recommending approval of the 4 documents as outlined: the amendment to the intergovernmental agreement dated July 1st, 2009, also known as the Facilities Agreement; the first amendment to the 2009 Facilities Agreement, Exhibits A through E; Athletic Facilities Redevelopment Intergovernmental Agreement; and the first amendment to the Intergovernmental Agreement dated August 16th, 2017.
Is there a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? Just a comment. I want to thank all, because I know there was a lot of behind-the-scenes things with the Village of Romeoville trying to get this right. Thank all the people at the Village of Romeoville, people on our staff, our attorneys, what have you. There was a lot that went on into this, and it's taken a good deal of time. These are great facilities. They should be shared, and working with the Park District in Romeoville, very much appreciated. And so on and so forth. So,
I also actually have a comment, President, quickly. I also want to just thank you guys for getting this done with the Village of Romeoville, because Romeoville Pony Baseball Association also is going to benefit from this, and it's part of that intergovernmental agreement. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Just one final comment. Lot of work. We tried to get it as close to perfect as possible, but there's just a lot of moving pieces, and thus the need for that amendment where we are going to meet annually to just try to, make sure both parties' interests are represented, and will continue to just evolve, and as it does typically over the years. So.
No, this is great. Thank you very much.
Yep, working with Park District, community groups, all kinds of things. So if there's no further comment, we have a motion and a second. A roll call vote would be in order.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
And President Quigley.
Yes.
Last action this evening is a recommendation to approve 3 separate agreements for before and after care programs at 10 of our elementary school sites. The following community agencies will be providing services for the upcoming school year as follows: Bolingbrook Park District at Jonas Salk and Pioneer Elementary, Joliet YMCA, BJ Ward, Independence, J.R. Tibbet, Oakview, Woodview, Irene King, and Hermanson, and Shamrock Club, Cheryl Simmons, Jamie McGee. These agreements have been reviewed by all parties as well as our legal team. They shall begin operation on the first day of student attendance and continue through the last day of student attendance for the 21-22 school year, and will self-renew for successive one-year terms thereafter, subject to the termination provisions listed within the agreement. Before and after care programs are also being offered at Early Childhood, R.C. Hill Elementary, and Beverly Scoff Elementary. These are existing agreements in place and will be brought forward for approval after they've been reviewed and updated. At this time, we're recommending approval of the agreements between Valley View School District and the Bolingbrook Park District, Joliet YMCA, and Shamrock Club Cheryl Simmons, as presented, subject to attorney review and approval.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
And President Quigley.
Yes. Ms. Nash?
Thank you, sir. Action Report 12.1 is our consolidated action report for certified and classified personnel. This evening, we're seeking approval on 130 items for certified personnel, 47 items for classified personnel, 5 items for classified administrative personnel, and 8 items for certified administrative personnel.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Roll call vote, please.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
And President Quigley.
Yes.
Before I move on to the next item, I just would like to, first of all, congratulate all of our new hires and welcome them to the Valley View School District, and take a moment to recognize some of our new administrators who have been in the audience this evening, and I will just ask if they would stand and wave to let us know that you're here when I call your name. Ravel Polak, she will be our new Human Resources Director. She's here in the audience tonight. Welcome. Marcy Dominguez Short is our new grant administrator for the district. I know she's right there also. Araceli Medina is our new director for bilingual education. Amanda Dykstra is our new assistant director for elementary curriculum. She's here this evening also. And I believe Andrea Heil is here as well. She is our new administrator for core content for PE Health and Driver's Ed at VHS. So congratulations to all of you and thank you. Action Report 12.2 is job descriptions. These 3 job descriptions were brought for your review back in the June 14th board meeting. That would be the job description for Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Supervision Aide, and Homebound Special Education Teacher. And we are seeking your approval this evening on those 3.
Second.
Motion. Second. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Campbell?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
And President Quigley.
Yes.
Action Report 12.3 is a resolution authorizing the dismissal of educational support personnel employee for reasons other Other than reduction in force, this evening we are seeking your approval on resolution number 2201.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and seconded. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Member Venegas?
Yes.
Member Perro?
Yes.
Member Badouris?
Yes.
Member Campbell? Secretary Sikora?
Yes.
President Quigley?
Yes. Number 13, Superintendent's Information Report. Ms. Kinder.
Okay, thank you. As a standard, I have an update this evening. I'd like to mention that this is an information report with information pertinent to the development of fall planning and updates on guidance that has been released. There's no board vote occurring this evening. Okay, so just in brief, I'd like to briefly touch upon some celebrations, health and safety updates, link that to fall planning and the updated guidance that has been issued from the CDC and then adopted by ISB and IDPH, and then just communicate regarding next steps. So one major highlight celebration that I love to share is we had over 2,500 students participated in summer learning programs, and they were rich, robust, engaging experiences, and our kids had a great time. Just being at school, being with their peers, learning, having fun, exploring from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. So we are really excited for all of that to occur, and we had great success with the programming and look forward to growing it and continuing it into next summer. So thank you to all the staff that supported that, all the leaders that supported that to make that happen, and to our kids and families who worked with us through these developing new programs and new partnerships. As is typical, I'll continue as I have during the last year and a half of giving health metrics overview. We continue to be in a good place at a region, county, and local zip code level, and we continue to monitor this, and we will do so. We know locally we're in a good place, and phase 5, our test positivity rates are low. Most metrics remaining low. The one red that pops out there is with new cases, which has seen an uptick. And there are some surges being reported in other counties throughout the state and in neighboring states as well. So those are things that we will continue to monitor, as well as pediatric cases and information as variants develop and what is occurring with that. So we continue to monitor that. And then in district, this is actually the first time, we currently have no cases being reported at this time. So we will continue to monitor this and report this. We will continue to maintain our dashboard that is available online. And this will be a very important tool to watch these metrics as we look at community transmission as well as in-district transmission rates. So it's going to be one metric that continues to be important as we monitor and guide things as we move forward. Vaccination clinics continue to be available through the Will County Health Department. We held 3 clinics in district with differing partners. We will continue to look for other opportunities to present these for those families that are interested in this for themselves or their children for ages 12 and up. Information is linked in there, and we are pleased to continue to maintain these partnerships to offer this for the families and the children who do want the vaccine. We will be collecting the COVID-19 vaccination information through online registration, so that will be available in our parent portal, and it will update our student health records. We encourage families to submit that information now. We do have a small percentage that have submitted that, but that will be important as it relates to contact tracing and quarantining and isolation, because that will be a factor based on vaccination status. So it's important for families to share that information with us if they choose to have their children vaccinated. As has been previously determined, full in-person instruction for all students is what will be occurring this fall. Remote learning, as I communicated previously, is available for those with the medical circumstance that have meet the criteria through the homebound instruction process. There's a process available for that, and that review information, the forms are due by July 23rd for review. And so that will be for students who meet that medical criteria, and then remote learning will be provided for quarantine and isolation for students who are either COVID-19 positive or have been a direct contact. And It will be different than what has occurred in previous remote learning, but we'll provide as much support as possible for students who are in that situation. So as everyone knows, and many of our guests this evening have alluded to the CDC guidance that has been released. Illinois Department of Public Health has fully adopted the most recent CDC guidance that was released on July 9th. And ISB and the Illinois State Board of Education and the Illinois Department of Public Health have fully adopted this guidance, which does bring a lot into consideration at the local level, at the local school district level, but does create some clear parameters regarding the guidance as it relates to health and safety protocols in the school district. Just a few key takeaways from this, but the priority is returning all learners to the physical classroom, a plan for layered mitigations, and a plan for ongoing monitoring at the local, community, and school level. And this refers to transmission rates, which I mentioned previously, vaccination coverage, the percentage of those vaccinated in the community in the school, as well as testing, screening programs, testing or point of care testing that's available, and then any outbreaks that may be occurring. It's important that that layered mitigation plan connects to that monitoring plan, and it's important that we have the ability to scale up and to scale back on mitigation strategies that need to be in place. All throughout the past year and a half, I've taken a very firm stance that we overplan, that we are prepared as possible, and now knowing going into the fall, knowing that having strategies in place that we can essentially increase or decrease or adjust allows us great flexibility. The absolute priority is returning students to school, but not just returning them, but keeping them in school with minimal disruption and creating as much continuity as possible. One of our parents this evening referred to the changes of this week to that week, of going back or going not. And the absolute goal is a fluid school year with continuity with limited disruptions. The idea of quarantining, the idea of isolating when one is COVID positive, those things are not going away. So as much as we would like to believe it, the virus is not gone. We have no way to predict. We don't know the trajectory. We don't know what will develop with variants. We do know that one positive case can affect hundreds of students if we don't have strategies, proper strategies in place. We also know that with proper strategies in place, one positive case could just affect that one individual and not require dozens of other students to stay home for 14 days. So when I talk about continuity in learning, it's not just the health of that one individual, it impacts all of the people that are around them. So when we talk about having different mitigations in place, I'm going to talk about those in a second, it's going to be critical that we look at our plan for those strategies and how we're doing with metrics. Are we staying in a low transmission place? Are we able to scale back? Are rates ticking up in the community? Are rates inside the district ticking up? And in turn, we need to put some stronger strategies in place. We need to be able to be flexible. We need to be able to be responsive. And so that is what I will continue to emphasize as we make decisions so that we can have our kids back in school and that we can have continuity with their day-to-day learning and support. Promoting vaccination, we'll continue to communicate those opportunities. If we are currently discussing holding another clinic in addition to the 3 that we completed. Physical distancing per the CDC guidelines and recommendations will be targeted at 3 feet distancing, and that is what we have been planning for in our classroom spaces and our other spaces as well. It's important to note that that distancing guideline is not an absolute, right? You do your best to achieve that with having all students in place as the greatest priority. And so we will continue to have that in place. Cleaning and disinfection, which we've done a phenomenal job ensuring that that's at the highest level. We'll continue to maintain that, as well as ventilation from our facility operations team, continuing to be at the forefront and ensuring that we're doing everything possible in those areas. Hand washing and respiratory etiquette, of course, will continue to be emphasized and encouraged, and so will symptom screening and staying home when you're showing any signs of illness. Those will be critical things that we'll need to continue to partner with our families on, because we don't know what could potentially develop in the future. Contact tracing is still in effect for the upcoming school year, and that is in combination with isolation for those that are COVID positive or have a family member who is COVID positive, and then quarantining if you've been in close contact. So the IDPH guidelines are currently in place, and if those change or have different criteria applied based on vaccination status, based on masking or other strategies, then we will of course implement that in our contact tracing effort. But this has been a primary tool that our school nursing team and our administrators have taken on to really lower risk of transmission. And we will have positive cases, but the important piece is that we minimize risk and keep that as low as possible to keep everyone safe. Now, obviously the topic of consistent and correct mask use comes with a lot of opinion, perception, experience, emotion, and we know this and we recognize this. We do have a couple areas where it's very clear in the guidance regarding masking, and then the more general component is an area that we are working on fully synthesizing to address. So one of the areas where it's very clear per the guidelines is that all individuals will be masked when riding in a school bus or in a school vehicle. And that will be in place for the 21-22 school year for all bus riders and all individuals in a school vehicle, for example, driver's ed. In general, outdoor masking is not required. So that's an area where that's been lifted. And the guidance only states that if it's particularly crowded or a high-risk situation, that masking be used. The requirements or recommendations for indoor masking will be based on transmission levels, vaccination status, vaccine coverage, and availability. So I don't have the specifics to share with you this evening as this guidance is relatively new. We are going through the final stages of determining what that will look like, and essentially what you can envision is that we will have criteria attached to the expectation for either the requirement or recommendation for masking based on what's going on, what is the current status. And that's really critical because things could be really great right now. We're in the blue, it's a low transmission, cases are relatively low, but we don't know if or when that could change. And so we are looking at what that could potentially look like, and we'll have updates for you within the next 2 weeks. Same for screening, testing regarding cases and clusters and outbreaks. We have piloted the saliva-based testing shield at the high schools in high-risk situations for high-risk activities, sports, band, theater, choir, and we are making some determinations based on where that tool should sit in our toolbox, meaning will it stay in just those high-risk areas or is there no need at all? Will it need to be remain as an option if rates should increase to a substantial level, or as an alternative to lower other mitigations? I think of it as, looking at the flag on the beach to determine if it's safe to swim or not. If that flag is changing, you would take some additional strategies all the way to staying out of the water, to not going too deep, to wearing a flotation device. You would think about what strategies you would use to lower your risk of being at harm. And so we need to keep our eyes open to what flags are waving. And if it's safe to swim and that flag is blue, our strategies can be lessened. And we can go in and have fun and do what we would normally do. But if that changes, those conditions change, then we need to be smart about what other tools we could use to ensure that our students and our staff are safe as possible, or we minimize risk as much as possible. So in particular, these two strategies for mask use and screening and testing, that is information that we are finalizing, and I'll discuss that at the closure of this evening. So the goal of keeping students safe and physically present in school will remain. And of many comments that were stated this evening, we of course consider physical safety, the health and safety. We of course consider emotional safety. And the number one priority in our district is the responsive and caring culture that ensures the physical and emotional safety for everyone in our learning environment. So that will continue to be at the forefront. Just to reiterate, we're looking at a proactive approach that allows for a responsive implementation of strategies based on changing conditions. We're doing a final synthesis of official guidance and statements that have recently been updated and issued, such as the American Academy of Pediatrics and other organizations. We're in collaboration with the health department, medical professionals, legal experts, and local school districts, and of course, consideration of stakeholder input, many of that we have heard from this evening and others as well. We are planning with our Health and Safety Committee, and then we will update our fall plan and district protocols. We anticipate communication to the district and community the week of August 2nd, and then obviously that would be follow-up and reiterated in a formal fashion at the board meeting on August 9th. And so that is just a kind of brief touch base of where we are with fall planning. And in closing, some key reminders for key dates, key information that's available online related to calendar, registration, and back to school is linked in this presentation as well, that is available online. And we will continue our communication efforts from the district, social media platforms and website, and continued updates moving forward from there. As we know, everything is extremely situational, and in terms of crisis leadership, crisis management, crisis response, it is important that we have contingency plans. It is important that we are responsive and nimble, and our absolute goal is to return to school, a strong return, and to stay in school despite any changing circumstances that could happen in the community, in our schools, or at a farther reach around us. So that's the brief update that I have this evening, and I'm happy to provide any information, any additional information.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Moving down the agenda, 13.2 K2 Fortunas. Fountains. What is it? Fountas?
That is K2 Fontes and Pennell Interactive Read Aloud and Mini Lesson Adoptions. I'd like to invite Executive Director of Pre-K 5, Maria Burgos, and Director of Literacy, Pre-K 5, Karen Hess, and 2 teachers that are there for backup and support. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Kinder. Good evening, President Quigley, members of the board, senior leadership, and members of the community. We're very excited to share our continuous work with Fontes and Pennell Classroom, and also excited to share our next steps in curriculum implementation. Additionally, we'd like to thank our 2 teachers, first grade teachers from BJ Ward, which will be sharing their voice on curriculum implementation. We're here to present the continuing work of building our balanced literacy curriculum in kindergarten through 2nd grade, the interactive read aloud and mini lesson. These components of Fontes and Pennell Classroom help teachers create a supportive learning environment for literacy and promote the love of reading for our students. This resource helps teachers continuously improve literacy instruction throughout the use of culturally relevant materials that reinforce key literacy learning. Karen? And let me get the clicker. That's important.
Good evening. Thank you. No, that's okay. Oh, am I clicking in the right direction? There we go. So since August of 2019, teachers at BJ Ward Elementary have been piloting all of the components of the FPC Balanced Literacy Program, and the board has been kind enough to allow us to move forward with our whole group options, including shared reading, phonics word study, and guided reading as well. To this date, we have trained 171 staff members in those areas of adoption. Many of the teachers in our elementary planning teams, as well as the elementary administrators in the district, have voiced their support of moving forward with adopting these additional components of Fontes and Pennell Classroom. We have successfully been able to add the whole group learning experiences of shared reading and phonics, as well as that guided reading, which is a small group piece. The interactive read aloud and reading mini lesson that we're bringing to you today will just help to systematically tie together the entire literacy block for our students in kindergarten through 2nd grade. It will also increase their reading comprehension and their vocabulary through the read-alouds that are presented. We have some quotes here, but I'd actually like to step aside and invite our 2 first grade teachers from BJ Ward to share exactly why they're so supportive of this adoption.
Hi, my name is Janetta Peterson. I've been teaching at BJ Ward first grade. I've been teaching actually for 21 years now, and I've had the privilege of using these FPC resources for the past 2 years. And I do have to say that the 2 components we're talking about today, I feel, are the most beneficial and meaningful for both the students and the teachers. I'm just going to share a quick story about something that happened this past year. While teaching a variety of mini lessons from our mini lesson book on folktales, we stressed we read from our shared reading and our interactive reading aloud a variety of different folktales, and we talked about the different features of folktales, and we talked about how what the students noticed that were similar, and they discussed the different variations of folktales. And one of my struggling readers went with an interventionist, and they just happened to be reading The 3 Little Pigs. It was a coincidence, nothing planned. And when she came back, she was just glowing. Her face lit up because she was so proud of herself, and she felt so confident because everything that we had been talking about in our mini lessons, she was able to carry over when she was working with her interventionist. She was able to recall all those different things that we had talked about in class, and she just felt so positive and so confident about reading. And to see that in someone that's struggling, it's just amazing. And FPC, it does that for our students because of this resource, the interactive read aloud. We're given 120, I know first grade is given 120 very diverse texts that are at our fingertips. And we use them not just once, but over and over and over throughout the year. And the kids are just, dying to read them again, and they want to read them on their own. And I can go on and on with stories of how our students, my little first graders, have just enjoyed reading because of how it's all put together using that mini lesson book and all the resources that FPC allows us to have.
Hi, my name is Kathleen Barney, and I've only been with Valley View for this past year, but I've had the privilege of being on the first grade team here at BJ Ward and working with the Fontes and Pinnell curriculum. And as I've been teaching for 10 years, so I've had experience with other literacy curriculum, and I have to say that Fontes and Pinnell is by far my favorite. It's easy to implement. I taught remotely all year, and I was able to adapt that for my students. And the specific 2 components with the interactive read aloud, the texts are diverse. Many of the texts act as windows and mirrors for our students, which was so important with our students. And one of my favorite things I just want to share quickly, there's so much I could say, but is that at the end of the year, we were reflecting as a class, and so many of my students said that their favorite part was the books that we read, and the majority of the books I read were from the curriculum, and it's cohesive and goes back and forth from each component of our language arts time. So thank you.
So the teachers have very wonderfully, really sold you on the beauty of this program. I do just want to point out, there are 6 principles. There's a reason and a plan for why we chose Fontes and Pinnell Classroom to tie together our balanced literacy program. As was noted in their stories, it connects to our interventions, it connects to our assessments, and it's really just valuable for all of our students. These are just the 2 components at a glance. I won't read every piece of text here to you, but something that would be key to know is that the mini lessons are really that whole group model that the teacher does to help the students understand how to become a strong independent reader. And then the students actually practice that in the classroom. And the interactive read aloud is probably something a lot of you are familiar with. You probably did it with other children in your life where you read to them, you paused for discussion, and you really pointed out important pieces of that text to those students. One of the other reasons why this is such a valuable program for our students and our staff is the fact that these supports that are provided are intentional. They help our teachers really move in a way of mastery to fully reach each student and their potential and help them to know how to differentiate for those students. We have a really brief 45-second clip just so you could get a snippet of what this might look like in the classroom, and we'll go ahead and show that now.
Says that they're tasting batter. Do you know what batter is?
Batter's ingredients.
Batter is part of the ingredients to make what?
Cake.
The cake, right. How can you tell, or what do you notice in the illustration that tells you that they feel happy?
Now let's think a little bit about the book Zomo the Rabbit. What did Gerald McDermott do to make this book fun and entertaining and funny and joyful and wonderful? Turn and talk.
That's just a taste of what it might look like in the classroom, and we hope once the pandemic has now started to die down, we can actually show you how this really looks in the future with our students here in Valley View. I just want to remind this board, you've seen this before, but just to show that since the teachers at BJ Ward started to implement Fontes and Pinal Classroom, they did see growth within their students. And while we haven't been able to collect data on this level since we were remote last year, we will continue to monitor that, and we believe that this additional component is going to just increase that growth for our students. And then the last thing I just want to point out as well is that we do have a comprehensive training plan for our teachers. We're offering just lots of flexibility and options when it comes to their training for this school year. So we'll continue to offer things flexibly throughout the year, as well as some self-paced options we've offered for teachers, job-embedded professional development with our coaching coordinators, and just allow for choice also within the curriculum. And so we feel that that's a really strong support for them. So we thank you so much for your time and just want to ask if you have any questions.
Anyone have any questions? If you do later, you know who to find. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate your time and effort on bringing forth that recommendation.
Board policies.
Okay, give me 1 second. It's frozen. Okay, information report 13.3 is just part of our standard practice of reviewing and updating board policies. There's 3 presented for your review: 5.140, 6.80, and 6.100. If you have any questions regarding these policies, you can feel free to reach out to senior administration or Attorney Wagman before we seek your approval at the next board meeting.
Thank you. And job descriptions, is that Ms. Nash?
Yes, information report 13.4 is a job description for a homebound teacher, similar to the special education homebound teacher that we presented earlier. We will be seeking your approval on this job description at the next board meeting.
Once again, if you have any questions, take a look, talk to Ms. Nash, and let yourself be heard. Moving down the agenda, number 14, legal services report.
No report.
Thank you, sir. AFT report. Apparently no report. Valley View Council report. Same. Valley View Office Personnel Council report. Any old business before the board this evening? Hearing none, seeing none. Any new business before the board this evening? Same. We have our Freedom of Information Act requests online. If you have questions, see Mr. Blaney. Any questions from the public on actions we have taken this evening? Moving down the agenda, any announcements by the board? Any announcements by the administration? Any announcements by the public? Motion to adjourn would be in order. Oh.
I do have an announcement. A neighboring community board just voted in for mask optional, and that's Plainfield. I thought that that would be very pertinent for this meeting to
Thank you.
make you be aware. Thank you.
Good information to have. Much appreciated. If there's no further announcements by the public, I wish everybody a happy rest of your summer. I want to thank our staff and everyone for the efforts that they've put in. Thank our community members, residents, people who have kids in the district and what have you for attending tonight. Your 2 cents is very valuable, and it's more than 2 cents, it's more like $10 worth, in my opinion. We appreciate it and look forward to moving this thing forward. This has been a long slog for a lot of people, and hopefully we'll get back to as close to normal as absolutely possible. So thank you once again, and if there's no further business, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much.
Thank you.